Yo, what's good, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I was actually looking on YouTube to see if there's anyone who had posted a tutorial video on how to play the Chaos deck, and surprisingly, I actually did not find anyone who had posted that. But I guess it does make sense because this deck is like super new. Like the cards were just revealed like last week, um, and this deck is honestly very, very, very powerful. I think this could be an upcoming tier 1 deck. There's a very high chance of that being the case. Um, there are still some decks that are better. If I was being 100% honest, even though I love this deck, I think for hire Mitsurugi K9 is just better. Like, I just can't, you know, put this deck at like a higher stool than that deck because the for higher Mitsurugi deck just cannot lose. That's the issue with it. You need to go second, and you need to have no hand traps. You need to have no like starters in your hand. You just have to completely break for you to lose, which is something like just crazy in that deck. so yeah, aside from this deck and like a couple other decks, I think this deck is just way too powerful. Not to say that this cannot beat decks like for higher Mitsurugi, but it would require you to basically have a good hand all the time, and also not make any misplays. This is like the most important thing. If you make misplays with this deck, it can actually cost you a lot. Yeah, because you have to use your interruptions like perfectly for you to be able to fully utilize the deck's potential. Which is, I guess, something you can say for every deck, but other decks can get away with mistakes. I think this deck gets punished a lot more if you make mistakes with it. But also it has the ability to just completely overwhelm your opponents really fast, and it can, has like infinite recursion. Actually, I would probably argue this is one of the decks that has the best recursion in the entire game. Uh, which is crazy to say because branded exists, right? And you guys know how branded, like how broken this deck is. Uh, in the end phase, this is like a new phase for them where they just do everything. But this deck actually has better recursion than that. It can actually shuffle back their end phase recursion stuff and give them nothing, which means Branded's grind game is gonna be absolutely awful because of this card. So this deck is just ridiculous. So what we're gonna be talking about today is, first of all, I'll be talking to you about this deck, which is the pure chaos deck. I guess you can call it like branded chaos technically, because we do play like some of the Fallen of the White Dragon, but I don't think it's gonna be branded chaos unless you want to play a brand fusion, which is something that you can actually do instead of the mystical Celtic Sage. Um, and then we're gonna be talking about like consistency and like bricking and like how you play if you quote unquote break, because this deck doesn't really break. You just have hands where you have no plays on turn one, but you can still destroy your opponent because you have like 5, 6, 7, even 7 interruptions by you just passing over to your opponent. Which is quite ridiculous, right? So if they max see you, imagine this, okay? In the OCG, you get max seed, you have nothing in your hand, you just pass over to your opponent. Opponent thinks you have nothing, and you hit them with like 7 interruptions, 7 very powerful interruptions. Like, what are they supposed to do after that? And you access your engine, so on the following turn you would just win. And then I'll show you like some combos as well that you can do. Now, this deck is not like a like one card combo, super consistency reliant deck. That's just not how the deck works. It has like two main core one card combos, and that's Gurifoh. Actually, three you can say. It's Gurifoh plus the Swordsman and the Fallen of the White Dragon. They can all basically do the same combo, except this Fallen of the White Dragon puts up the best combo, which is quite weird because these are engine cards. Yet the Fallen puts up a better board and puts up everything that these are putting plus more. Um, and then I'll show you some alternate combos that you can do, like things with actual hand traps that you can use to bridge into your engine, which is what makes this deck so good, even on turn 0. And then I'll actually talk to you about turn 0 plays and what are plays that you can make and how to use them properly. And then we'll talk about like recursion and grind game and how you can win in the grind game, and the mirror match, which is very important. And then I'll talk to you about like how you can out unaffected towers, and then show you different variants of the deck that can be played. And then I'll give you like a breakdown of like every card and how they work, which is going to be very important because there are interactions that are still, quite weird for a lot of players. They don't actually fully understand them. So I'll just be going over them because I was also confused at first when I was playing the deck. And I'll share like how you can actually use them to your advantage. And yeah, these are the main things that we're going to be talking about. If you want to skip to a certain section, feel free. I have like tags gonna be put in on the videos. So yeah, okay, let's get started. So first of all, this is what a pure chaos deck looks like pretty much. And because it's pure, you're not actually playing any like actual Dark Magician stuff. You're not playing any like Synchro stuff. You're not playing any Xyz stuff. It's just hand traps, right? Hand traps plus your engine. Fallen of the White Dragon doesn't count because this is like, if you tech in like these cards, it's not really branded. You're just playing these cards to like help with consistency. Because we're not actually playing any branded cards. It's just like these plus like the Cartesia and Ecclesia. And yeah, mainly you're just going to be using these, and these also just are used to specifically bridge into engine. And at the same time, while you're bridging into your engine, you actually get free interruptions and free ways to like stop your opponents and pop their cards, negate them. There's a lot that you can do with this, which is what makes this card like a must play in the deck. Which is actually quite scary because I feel like this card is gonna get hit sooner or later. This card's too powerful. But yeah. So the new cards is these, first of all, two rituals that you need to know about. So this is just retrains of Yugi's original cards, the Black Chaos and the Black Luster Soldier. So these are basically unaffected, is their gimmick, right? They are unaffected monsters who need to be targeted. And obviously, as you guessed it, you have cards that are going to allow you to dodge the targets. So as you can see, it says unaffected by your opponent's activated effects unless they target this card. And then you have this Mind Shuffle trap card, which is going to be the core card of your entire deck. This is what allows you to do basically everything. Think about like a generator for like electricity. This is exactly what Mind Shuffle is. Without the generator, you can't actually do much, right? So this can spin back your rituals back to the hand, and then you can summon another monster that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark, which is this ritual spell right here. And all of these cards just mention Ritual of Light and Dark. But mainly what you want to be summoning is these rituals on the opponent's turn, or you can summon the Swordsman. These are the three cards that are unaffected. Out of the three, the most powerful one is this one. This one does have a restriction on it, on like how it can become unaffected, and these also do. So these are usually just unaffected by default, but they can be targeted. So if they're targeted by like Imperm, it can still get negated. If they are targeted by Fallen of the Virtuous, they can still get popped and so on. So you need a way to dodge. This is just completely unaffected by activated effects if you have a Ritual of Light and Dark in your grave. And most decks actually don't have a way to get rid of this in your graveyard, unlike, your turn. I guess Yummy can, for example. That's like one of the decks that can. But for them to actually be able to do this, they're going to have to out this first, and then they're going to have to out this, which is obviously a lot of work, right? For most decks, at least. Yummy can do this, but Yummy gets absolutely destroyed by this deck. Like, it's not even close. This deck just completely counters the hell out of Yummy. And this is, they all have like spell speed 1 effects, except the Luster Soldier, where they can actually banish your opponent. So this, as you can see, says you can banish 2 cards your opponent controls. And then this says you can you target 1 card your opponent controls, banish it face down. So this targets and banishes face down. This doesn't target, but it banishes 2 cards. And it has to be 2, it cannot be up to 2. Which is what makes this card just so broken, because once you summon this card, you probably just win the duel. It's just way too powerful. They just have no way to out it. You have cards that are like Plasma, for example, Skill Drain, things like Mirror Jade's pop effects in the end phase. These are like the only cards that can out these activated effects, unaffected by activated effect monsters. Aside from that, there's really no proper way to get rid of them besides like Kaijus, which is what makes these cards just way too powerful. Anyways, also, by the way, you can actually still out things like Skill Drain, Plasma, and all of these cards. This deck actually just doesn't care about it. Then you have Chaos, which is what bridges the entire deck together. This is a core part of the deck. This is basically going to be like how you A, bridge into the deck, B, recycle your resources, and C, interrupt your opponent's resources, which is such a powerful effect because think about how many cards can actually banish themselves to like activate themselves or send themselves to the grave, or if you have cards that are gonna keep giving you recursion in the graveyard, like the branded stuff, Albion, Titan Collide, and all of these in the grave, and then you have things like Fiendsmith, which they can keep using on the following turns. This is gonna shuffle all of them back. It shuffles 3 cards from grave or banishment into the deck, and then summons itself. And it can be either grave, either banish. So you're going to recycle your resources, recycle the opponent's resources so that they cannot access their engine on the following turns. They have no follow-up, and this is going to absolutely destroy them. There are so many decks that get destroyed by this. Even cards like Supernova, which is important to actually mention because these decks are getting lots of support. Supernova banishes itself and then comes back later. You can just shuffle this back. You don't have to worry about that. Think about Cosmic Blazar Dragon. This is actually one of the cards that are just almost impossible to out without a Kaiju because it just keeps banishing itself. Even if you drop with this, it banishes for cost and then still comes back in the end phase. This can out it. It just shuffles it back into the deck. Get out of here. You don't have to worry about Blazar anymore. Even if they have 3 Blazars, they're all going to get shuffled back into the deck. It doesn't matter. Yeah, and then the Gurifoh is what's going to be allowing you to have turn 0 plays. And this card is going to be like a core part of your deck, which is going to basically summon your interruptions here. It's going to be able to, set your quick play spells, which we have 2, and your trap card as well if you need access to it. It's going to be able to protect you from lethal damage because it has 2 effects. The first effect says the next battle or effect damage you take will become 0, which also means you are pretty much immune to like FTKs. Because in FTKs, they usually have to burn you to death, and they can't do that if you have Gurifoh. So they're just going to scoop to Gurifoh, which is really funny. Aside from that, we also have Mystic Celtic Sage. This is a card that is optional to play. The other cards are not optional. You have to play this, at least 1 of each, and then you have to play this at probably 3. This card is too powerful not to play. It's a starter, and it's also just one of the best cards in the deck. And this is too little if you play 1. You have to play at least 2, because if one of them gets banished, you're probably just cooked. You lose the duel, because you have no way to recycle your resources. So 2 is a perfect ratio. If you want to play 3, you actually can, but I think 2 is just perfect at the moment. And Gurifoh must be at 3. You cannot play less than 3 for this card. This is what enables the entire deck. You always want to see this in your hand. And this is not a card that you need. This is more of like an extender somewhat, or something to like bridge into plays if you don't actually have any. But it can be a very high impact card because you basically get to draw 3 cards and then discard 2. The reason it makes you discard is because you have cards like Archfiend of Chaos, which wants to go to the grave. You have cards like the Ritual Spell, which is also wants to be in the grave because it can activate to add itself and a card that mentions light and darkness from the grave back to the hand. And you have like a lot of things that are actually going to be useful in the grave. So this effect's very powerful. And at the same time, because it's drawing 3, you're probably going to draw into an extender. You're probably going to draw into a hand drop. You're probably going to draw into one of these if you don't have any already. And even if you don't, there's other ways like Link Summoning, which you can go into like Cyber Switch, which can also just search one of these. And then you can just use the secondary effect to cheat out one of your rituals. So it does have a lot of value, but the only drawback is it locks you out of the extra deck. You can only summon once from the extra deck, but it's only for the rest of the turn, which means you can make all your plays with like Albaz, for example, and then summon this last, and you get a free draw 3. So it's basically Graceful Charity for free. So that's very powerful. And then you have the Ritual Spell. Ritual Spell is what's going to be able to give you like that infinite recursion, because you're just going to keep adding your resources back to the hand with this. You add back the Gurifoh, you add back this, which just helps you OTK really easily. You can add back your rituals if you want, which usually you don't actually do because this all just shuffles them back into the deck to summon itself. And that's just going to recycle them anyway. And then you also have Mystic Box of Chaos, and this can help you dodge like targeting effects on literally any card that you control. And then it's going to pop the opponent and then summon one of your rituals or like one of these. And then you have the Chaos Hats, which is actually a very weird card. It works in a very interesting way, where you can actually use spells and not traps, just spells, and you basically turn them into monsters, which actually become level 8 dark spellcasters, which means you can actually use them to go into D-mod. There's a lot of stuff that you can actually do with them. It's really quite funny. There's a lot of actually other cards that you can play that synergizes really well with Chaos Hats. And at the same time, this can actually negate pretty much anything. It changes the effect, which means it works like the what's it called? The Spirit of Yubel, I think, and like Gossip Shadow, was it? Which means even unaffected monsters like Lunalight Liger is gonna get negated by this. So this deck basically covers everything. You have a way to out literally everything. And finally, the Trap, which is the best card in the deck, I think. This is going to be able to just play on turn 0. You get to add a monster that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark, so you get to add this, and then you send it to the grave, and then you get to add one of your rituals, or you can just add the ritual directly. If you want to discard something else, if you already have this, for example, you can add like this, you can add Gurifoh, you can basically just add whatever you want. And then you can just keep shuffling your monsters back to the hand, and then resummoning, and that is not once per turn. You can keep doing this forever. So, yeah. These are basically the new cards that you need to know about. Now what we're going to be talking about is consistency and bricks. So the thing about this deck is it doesn't work like other decks. Other decks require you to have, I guess, consistency cards where, you have like, for example, Branded Fusion. Okay, you're not going to just open Branded Fusion. You need ways to search Branded Fusion. So that's why you have cards like Albaz, you have cards like Branded and High Spirits, and all these cards that help with consistency, right? In this deck, you don't need that. You play on turn 0, you're going to be interrupting your opponent, and at the same time, accessing Engine. How? Okay, let's show you. So we have things like Magna Hut, for example. Okay, let's take that, and that's a card everyone knows. I don't want to use the other cards just yet, because you guys might not understand what I'm talking about. So Magna Hut's going to be interrupting your opponent. Let's say opponent is trying to like revive a Fiendsmith Engraver from the grave. You banish it, you summon this card. That was one interruption, right? And then you also get a big monster on the board. And then you also get to add a dragon in the end phase. And the dragon that you can add is a Fallen of the White Dragon, which is a 1-card starter, right? This does everything for you. It's actually also a board breaker, which is kind of crazy because you can basically send this to the grave, and then you can also go into like the Ecclesia of the Black Dragon. If they out it, you have these to shuffle them back and shuffle something they control back into the deck. And then you can also just go into this, which is also a way you can search and pop and negate something they control. You can go directly into Packbit. There's just so much things that you can do with the Fallen of the White Dragon. Otherwise, you can also just add a board breaker with Harmonia. So you either add a starter or a board breaker, and this is just with one Magna Hut. Now imagine you have other cards as well, which we do. We have Harmonia, for example. This can discard a Packbit, and then Packbit forces you to, this can send Packbit to the grave. You pop a monster they control, non-targeting, and then Packbit is going to be able to push something they control into the back row. And then also force you to discard, which you can discard the Chaos, and then Chaos is going to send the Ritual Spell to the grave, and boom, you have your setup. You have Chaos plus the Ritual Spell in grave. These two cards is what you need in grave for you to be able to like access Engine, right? Also adds a Ritual, by the way. So yeah, that's basically how we like access Engine with just like turn 0 plays, while them being interruptions in the first place. And then you have cards which are new, like Multiplying Kuriboh, and this can directly actually search the Gurifoh. And that gets you like into your turn 0 plays because you can just set the trap card and do a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about that when we get to like the turn 0 section of the video. Yeah, and another thing I need to mention is, because we're talking about consistency and stuff, there are some cards you'll see some people playing, and one of them being Resonator. I just need to talk about this because I don't want people playing this card and then just getting destroyed. Okay, don't listen to people who tell you this deck needs consistency cards. It doesn't. It literally just doesn't. The consistency cards make the deck worse. Think about this, okay? If you want to play competitively, do you want to see hand traps that can also bridge into engine? Or you want consistency cards which can just get absolutely destroyed if you just have no hand traps in your hand. You let your opponent do everything, and then imagine you just normal summon Soul Resonator against a 10 interruption board. What is that going to do for you? It's going to get impermed, it's going to get dropleted, it's going to get ashed, it's going to get absolutely destroyed, and you're going to lose. Another thing is this: the reason people play this is because it can search Gurifoh directly. Think about this for a second, okay? After it searches, it actually locks you into Dark Synchros, which means your entire X deck is just dead. There's only one card you can go into realistically, and that's the Crimson King, which is a new Synchro Resonator, which also just searches a Crimson Call. And Crimson Call searches the Gurifoh. So they are basically doing the same thing. So you're going to get locked, and you're not going to be able to do anything. Your only play is going to be Gurifoh, and if this doesn't resolve, you lose. You have no access to engine, nothing. Otherwise, imagine, instead of this, it's a Fallen of the White Dragon. You get to send Albion to the grave, you get to summon Ecclesia, you get to Synchro, and then in the end phase, you still get to set a Fallen of the Virtuous or add it to your hand, pop something, you can revive from grave, you can do so much with this, right? So these cards, like this one, is just horrible. You should not be playing these. They play really bad even into hand traps because it's not just Ash Blossom. That's like one of the weaker hand traps. Like sure, okay, you can argue it gets ashed, but I already have Gurifoh. Boom, haha, you got baited. No, that's not how it works. You basically, if you add with this, okay, you can get Drolled. If you get Drolled after you add Gurifoh, you lose. What you need to do is you actually need to get Chaos Engrave so it can send the ritual spell, and then if you get Drolled, it's fine. You're not gonna get the ritual, but you still have this setup. You have Chaos plus the ritual spell, and your first search is gonna be with the Mind Shuffle to get the Chaos, and then discard it, and then this is gonna send the ritual for cost, and then it's gonna try to add, and then you get Drolled, and you can't add. So this is just way better. If you play Soul Resonator, you're not gonna be able to do this. You're gonna get Drolled and lose, literally just straight up. Now the Crimson King, I also need to talk about this. There is ways you can actually play this and make more use of it. It's better than the Soul Resonator, but that doesn't mean this card is a good card. Why is it not a good card? Because you can go into it first of all with the Fallen of the White Dragon, yes. And you can actually search the Gurifoh after you search a Crimson Call. The problem is not with this card specifically, it's actually with the Crimson Call, and the Crimson Call says, add one level 4 or lower fiend from your grave to your hand. This does nothing, right? If you open this, it does nothing. There's no way you can actually use this card unless you have Crimson King on your field. And the way to get Crimson King is with this. But this would not make sense, right? Because we already have the 3 Riv Sword Souls, which can already bridge into your engine and also give you an interruption. And a way to board break your opponent with the secondary effect. It can target a face-up card on the field and get its effect. And then if you have Ecclesia or a Fallen of Albaz in your grave, you can destroy that card. I actually use this effect most of the time. This is one of the best effects in my extra deck. I rely on this a lot. So the Crimson King only searches this, right? Again, you get Drolled, you lose. This doesn't actually care because this is going to be your first search, so it cannot even get Drolled. And guess what you're searching? You're searching Cartesia, which can activate on the opponent's turn to go into the Granganol. You can also just fuse into Granganol anyway, and then you can summon a Lulu, which can do a lot for you, or summon like the Thunderbolts, or you can just straight up add the Thunderbolts, set a Punishment. Punishment is one of the best cards in the deck, easily. This is one of the cards, like my best turn 0 interruption, I would say, is Harmonia and the Punishment. Nib is also very powerful, it hits really hard, but I think these 2 cards are basically what wins me most of the duels. And then there are like some combinations like these 2 together, which also wins me a lot of duels. And these are just hand traps. Like you're not even accessing engine yet. Just these are probably just enough to stop your opponent, which is crazy. So this does nothing like that. You can add a Gurifoh directly from your deck if you have the Crimson King. But at that point, first of all, you would have already gotten Drolled. And even if you didn't, this card is not worth playing. if you open this, it just does nothing in your hand. It's completely dead. You might as well be playing like a vanilla Dark Magician, and then argue that you can play the new spell, which can summon the vanilla Dark Magician. It's literally the same thing. Now this deck, this card, I mean, and the Crimson King stuff is actually better in the synchro version of the deck, not the pure version. So in the synchro version of the deck, you can actually just do this a lot more consistently, because you can literally summon Junk Speeder and then bridge into like your Crimson King and then go straight into Gurifoh. That it does play into like hand traps, yes, but it's a different deck entirely, right? This deck is a turn 0 deck. It's not a combo deck like the synchro version. So you don't want to play this card, not good. And don't play like other consistency cards that are gonna be too slow. You want hand traps. You want board breakers, but not too many, because if you play too many board breakers, you're gonna break. And I need to make this very clear in this deck. There's a clear difference between bricking and having no plays, and I do say this a lot in my videos. So for new players who are new to this, you need to understand that if you have no plays, for example, let's say you go first, okay? You are forced to pass because you cannot do anything on your turn. Why? Because you have cards that cannot do anything. Like Nib, for example, you have Nib, Thunderbolt, Harmonia, let's say Chaos, and then you have like a Multiplying Karibo. This literally is a hand that can actually, you know what? How about I actually show you? So it's easier to like, see what I'm talking about. So let's say we actually open this hand, okay? We literally have no plays. Look at that, we have no plays. But this is not a brick, because the whole goal of the deck is to play on turn 0. So let's just pass over to the opponent, okay? And then what's going to happen is if he activates anything, I'm going to activate Multiplying Karibo. And then Multiplying Karibo is going to search Gurifoh. Boom, I access engine, just like that. Now I also have access to my Black Cluster Soldier, which is an interruption. Banish, and that monster is unaffected, right? In addition to that, I have double interruption with Harmonia. I get to pop non-targeting, plus I get to send like a synchro from my extra deck, which can be this, spin something back, or I can send Packbit. Usually I would send Packbit in this scenario because I have Chaos in my hand, and that Chaos can also search another ritual, right? And then you also have Thunderbolt to set a punishment, and then if they push through all of that, right, you have a fat Nib to clear the entire board. And then on the following turn, you have your Ritual Spell in the grave, you have Chaos in grave, you have your Mind Shuffle still because you set it with the, you place it face up with the Gurifoh. You just win. That's how the deck works, right? This deck doesn't care about playing on turn 1. It actually just cares about playing on the opponent's turn. If you can play on the opponent's turn, you can win. That's how the deck works. Even if you put up your board or whatever, or you attempt to put up your board, if the opponent just hand traps you and stops you and you have too many consistency cards, like they hit you with a Droll and Lockbird, you're going to pass on nothing. But, they can't hit you with a Droll and Lockbird if you, go for, like the 3 Brave Sword Souls, right, with the Albaz Combo, and then you get Drolled, and you search the Thunderbolt, you set Punishment, you have Punishment, Harmonia, a Multiplying Karibo, and like 2 other things in your hand. You have way too many interruptions. It's literally no different than just passing right away. It doesn't matter. There's like a difference of like 1 interruption because you can go Demod and you can't search. So that's like the only thing. You can't search for the gaze. Aside from that, that's the only interruption you're losing out on. So this deck is just really, really good at like playing under all of these hand traps. And even if you get ashed, it doesn't really matter too much, because they're usually going to ash your Mind Shuffle or the Chaos, which you can just use Mind Shuffle on the opponent's turn anyway, and then do the exact same thing, right? So that's a very important thing that you need to know about this deck. Now, I think we should just go over some combos so you have a better idea of what I'm talking about if you've never seen this deck before. So let's hop into like a quick combo with Gurifoh. Okay, so first of all, what you want to do is Gurifoh can activate from the hand by discarding. Very important, this discards, it doesn't send to the grave, right? This is there's a clear distinction here. Sending to the grave means it cannot activate under floodgate effects, like Dark Law, which says any card sent to the grave is banished instead. That would completely turn off the card. But because this says discard, it works like Phimena, which means even under Dark Law, it can still banish itself to place a Mind Shuffle. And what that means is we don't actually care too much about Dark Law and all of these floodgates because we can play around them. Also, you want to do this in the draw phase to play around Droll and Lockbird. Again, this is a card that we do talk about a lot. You can play around Droll and Lockbird. If you don't play around Droll, it can be an issue in some cases. But if you're playing this version of the deck, usually it's just never an issue. So we're going to set a Mind Shuffle in the draw phase, and then we are going to activate Mind Shuffle. This can add, and you want to add the Chaos. Now, I can definitely see a lot of players making this mistake, because I used to make it a lot when I first started playing the deck. You accidentally add the Ritual, and then you have to discard the Ritual. This is not what you want to do. Also, let's say you have like Nib, Harmonia in your hand, and then you add the Ritual, and then you're like, oh shit, I have to discard one of my hand traps or the Ritual now. Which is why you always go Chaos. Okay, just keep this as a rule. Always go Chaos unless you already have Chaos, or you you have 2 Ritual spells in the grave, because this has to send the Ritual spell for cost, as you can see, for it to be able to add a Ritual from the deck to the hand. So if you have double Ritual in grave, you have nothing to send, which means you cannot add. In that case, you would add the Ritual right away, and then you can discard whatever else. We also do have discards because with the Fallen of the White Dragon, we get to discard multiple cards, like Ecclesia, Cartesia, which can add back in the end phase. So you're going to have at least 2 discards in the end phase. So this is all in the draw phase. Now, okay, I want you to keep an eye on like when we are searching. So you know when the opponent can draw us, right? So we did all of this in the draw phase. He can't draw us. And then this is the effect that we use for like recursion a lot. You can see it says if this card is in your grave, you can add both this card and one card that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark. This does not target, which means the opponent does not know what you're adding. If they, for example, bestial this, you just add this. They can't stop it, right? Which is what makes this card so much better as well. And what you want to do here is keep the Chaos Engrave, and then you want to add Gurifoh. In some cases, you can make some crazy plays if, you have like a million IQ. You actually add back the Chaos. Even though this wants to be in the grave, if you know your opponent is on Bestials, if you know your opponent has Cold Buy, you can save the Chaos by adding it to your hand, and then you can activate its effect to summon from the hand. As you can see, it says if this card is in your hand or grave, you can target 3 other cards in the graves or banish, including card that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark, and place them on the bottom of the deck and then summon this. So this would play around their Bestial or Cold Buy. Now, I need to mention that Cold Buy is one of the most threatening cards against this deck. Cold Buy against Gurifoh or the Chaos is gonna hurt a lot. I personally know this because I always get Cold Buy like left, right, and center. I don't know why. My luck is just horrible. But everyone always has Cold Buy against me. I think the shuffler is rigged, but you need to watch out for that card. And like I said, there's ways you can actually play around it, but you can't always play around it. Sometimes, like if you want to make turn 0 plays, you go Gurifoh, they just hit you with a Cold Buy, and then they continue playing. It feels really bad, and there's not really much you can do. But you can do things like Magna Hut, so you wait for them to put up a monster on the board, and then use Gurifoh. They try to Cold Buy, you use Magna Hut to banish your own Gurifoh, so it resolves. That's like one thing you can do. But yeah, it just depends, I guess, on your hand most of the time. So after you summon this with the Ritual, now the Ritual also can banish cards from the grave, and it can exceed the levels that you need. Super important thing I need to mention is for this card, I don't know if this is like a rule with like Yugi or whatever, but you cannot overpay the cost. Let me give you an example. I want to summon a Ritual 8, right? I can't use a Ritual 8 and another Ritual 8. It's just not going to work. It's not going to let me even. You have to use like a Ritual 8 and like a Ritual 4. I think the max is like 13. So if you think about 13 levels for main deck monsters, that's probably the highest that you can go. Which means anything that exceeds 13 cannot be used. So because this is 8, that's 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can't use anything bigger than 5, is what I would think. Yeah, it's quite weird. But what's even weirder is you can actually use Dark Magician Girl, which is a level 6 with Dark Magician. Now, Dark Magician is a level 7, so it does make sense. They both add up to 13. So that's the highest that you can go. And that example is very relevant if you want to play Dark Magician. But yeah. So once we summon this is a Dark Spellcaster level 6 or higher. So you can actually just banish it to go into Demod. And then Demod can do one of two things. It can either add a Multiplying Kuriboh, because Multiplying Kuriboh does mention Dark Magician. Or you can add the Gaze of Tamais. Now, Gaze is going to be able to access your Dragoon to give you an interruption with this. Or if you go from Multiplying Kuriboh can actually just add your Gurifoh and give you access to the trap if you don't already have it, or you went for a play without that. Otherwise, you basically just get to access the Gurifoh for a Chaos Hats or a Mystic Box, which is the two quick play spells of the deck, which give you some very powerful interruptions, especially Chaos Hats. So we're gonna just go for this Gaze of Tamais for this combo. Now you can see, like, we actually just don't end on much because we don't play on our turn. This deck plays on the opponent's turn. So on the opponent's turn, we're gonna activate again Mind Shovel in the draw phase, add the Chaos again, and then you can send a Ritual spell. You can send from your hand as well. If you already have this engraved, you can just send this one from your hand. Ideally, you want to keep this so you can discard it with Dragoon. And then this is going to add a Lesser Soldier. Now you can go into Dragoon. Now, there is an issue with this, which is why one-card combos is not really a thing with this deck. You need, like, multiple cards. You don't have a monster to spin back to your hand to summon the Lesser Soldier. Because this says you can return one level 7 or higher monster you control to the hand, special summon one monster with a different name from your hand that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark. Very common mistake a lot of people make. I made this mistake as well when I was first playing. I didn't know. You cannot spin back extra deck monsters because they don't go back to the hand. They go back to the extra deck. And this says return you control to the hand. Then you can special summon one monster. Because it never went to the hand, it went to the extra deck, you actually just can't even use it to begin with. So you have to spin back a main deck monster to the hand in order to summon your rituals. So again, this was just like one card combo, which is not really something that you do much in this deck. You need multiple cards. Albaz is like the real one card combo card, I guess. So there's two things you can do, okay? Either you can special summon it by sending the Albion to the grave, so you get Fallen and the Virtuous in the end phase, or you can actually normal summon it, so you have access to the links. These two. It depends on your hand, mainly, but whereas the Cyber Switch can actually add one of your rituals if you need access to them, and you don't want to add the rituals with the trap card, because the trap can add anything, remember. So it can also add Gurifoh to be able to set one of your quick play spells. Which means usually, you want to search the rituals, but if you already have access to the ritual, you can just search a Gurifoh instead. So that's what you can use the Cyber Switch for, and you can also just link her off into Little Knight as well. So now we're going to go into the 3 Brave Sword Souls. So this can add a level 4 or a 8 spellcaster monster whose attack equals its defense. And the monster we're going to be adding is Cartesia. So because you control Fallen of the Albaz in the graveyard, you can special summon this. And then you can fuse these two to go into Granganol. And then Granganol can send your Chaos to the grave. And then it's going to add. So this basically only triggers on if this card is sent to the grave, which means it doesn't matter how. It says if this card, so even if it's detached from something and goes to the grave, it's still going to trigger. So we're going to add this, and then we're going to use the ritual spell to add this back because it's our only target. This has to add something that mentions light and dark. And then we're going to ritual. Now because this is a level 8, this is a level 8, you can just use all of them. There's so many targets that you can use with the ritual spell. In this case, we're just going to banish this and then go into this. And this can add any spell back to the hand from your grave. Now, this is very broken. Or at least it can be. Because you can sense things like Super Poly, I don't know, like literally any spell that you think is broken, depending on the deck that you're playing. And you can just add it back with this. Insane, right? And the thing is, this where is it? This card is super generic. You can just send this with so many different cards. You can do like a Fiendsmith line where you can send this with Aerial Eater. What else? You can do like Granganol, for example. Send this to the grave. You can go Armageddon Knights. There's just so many different cards that can send this to the grave. Which means you can have a setup which is crazy, where you get to send a spell to the grave, and then whatever spell you send to the grave, you just send this to the grave and then add it back with the ritual. And then you go into this, and then you add back the spell. I'm not giving you any ideas, guys. I don't want you to do anything like ridiculous and ruin the game, but I'm just telling you that this is a possibility that you can do. So we're going to add this back, and then we're going to banish it to go into DMod, and then we can add the Multiplying Kuriboh. Now notice we did not add Gaze because we don't have access to the trap card, and we do want access to the trap. The trap is one of the best cards here. You must establish the trap if you can. So as I said, you're going to get these back in the end phase. Notice we don't actually link because we're locked into level 8 fusions and synchros because we special summoned the Albaz. We did not normal summon it. Also, this deck does not use normal summons, by the way. The only normal summon is like the mystical Celtic Sage, and Albaz normal summon is optional. So you can play basically any normal summon that you want. So now what's going to happen is you're going to wait for them to activate any monster effect, summon the Multiplying Kuriboh. They use another monster effect here. You can just chain this to it, but because he's summoned with a monster effect, you can also just summon a Thunderbolt, which is going to be important here. You can also summon a Lulu, or if you want to play like some of the Despia monsters in your extra deck, you can. Things like Proskinion, Quiritis, and all of these, you can just use them if you want. But I think Thunderbolt and like the Lulu are probably just enough. Now, the reason we summoned this over Lulu, which is an interruption, is because we need a level 7 or higher main deck monster to spin back to the hand in order to activate the Mind Shuffle and summon the Luster Soldier. So this is going to be the level 7 or higher. This is also one of the most powerful cards in the deck, because you can just straight up special summon from your hand for free to turn on your Mind Shuffle if the opponent controls a monster summoned from the extra deck. And then it can also set a punishment. So we're going to set a Mind Shuffle here, and then this is going to add another Archfiend, and then the Archfiend is going to add either this or the Luster Soldier. Now, because it's the opponent's turn, you would want to add a Luster Soldier instead. This is just like a example combo. And then you would be able to spin this back, summon it, negate something, and then what's even crazier is you can actually just activate this after from your hand to set a punishment, which is also going to be activatable if they control a monster with 2500 or more. So you actually just get a lot of value off the Granganol. Yep. Now these are like the main two combos. Now this also works the exact same way as the Gurifoh combo. It's literally the same. There's not much to mention. And aside from this, we should probably talk about like alternate combos that you can do. Now, one of the main alternate combos is Harmonia, like I mentioned. Harmonia can basically, activate. Its condition is super easy. If the opponent activates a monster effect on the field, you activate it, pop a card, non-targeting, and you can apply these effects, right? Send one of the revealed synchro monsters to the grave, and destroy one monster your opponent controls. The cards you can send mainly are going to be either Packbit, Cloud Beast, Lulu, or the Ecclesia in some cases. If you want, if you have like Albion engraved and you want these two engraved to like out another card on the board. Most of the time, it's going to be Packbit or Melong. This right here is going to be able to discard your Archfiend of Chaos, and then you're going to do the same line that we did with the Granganol, where this is just going to send this to the grave, and then you can add one of these, and then you can add the Ritual spell back with this, and then you can Ritual Summon, and then you can go into Demod, and you can do a lot of other stuff. Actually, you can't go Demod because we used Harmonia, but this is just an example. And these also have powerful effects, so this can actually banish something face down if you need to, or you can just summon this, which is cannot be destroyed by battle, unaffected, and then can attack twice in a row if it destroys a monster by battle. So this is great for like OTKing your opponent, and this is great for like outing really annoying cards for good, because once it's banished face down, there's pretty much no way to get them back in most decks. So this, yeah, just Harmonia is going to be able to access this. And then like we just showed you, the multiplying Kuriboh can basically just access your Gurifoh and then get you into engine. And these are like the alternate lines that you can go for to access engine. Very important that you know these because they're going to come up a lot. Okay, and now we should get into turn 0 plays. So with turn 0 plays, we have so many. In fact, how about this? How about I actually show you like on the probability calculator thing, so you guys have like a better idea as to like what we're looking at with this deck. First of all, okay, let's look at starters here. So in this deck, we have 12 starters for turn 1. Now it does differ for turn 1 and turn 2. So if we go back to the game here and count the starters, we have 3 Albaz, Ecclesia, and Cartesia. Now the reason I'm actually counting these two as well is because this can normal summon or special summon, and then go into Albaz, and then Albaz effect can summon this back, and then you can synchro into this and do your combo like nothing happened, right? Otherwise, Cartesia is at least 90% of the time gonna be just a 1.5 card combo, because look how many monsters we play. We play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So what's 40 minus 11? That's gonna give you like what, 29? It's actually right here. We play 29 monsters. They're all light and dark, all of them, except the Luster Soldier, which means you can basically fuse with anything into Granganol, and then Granganol is going to send the Chaos to the grave. So this is why we do count this as a starter. And it does also give you so much, because you guys know how Granganol is going to be working now. As I showed you just now, you can summon this, you can summon Lulu, and then this is going to be able to like spin itself back to the hand later and do a lot of stuff. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Reason I'm actually counting this, I know I didn't show it. This is basically just going to put the trap face up from your graveyard or your deck, which means if it goes to the grave, you can just recycle it without having to shuffle it back with the chaos. And you can use this to shuffle other things back. So you don't always have to use Gurifoh to set the trap. Gurifoh actually most of the time is going to be setting these, unless you're turn 0, where you're going to be setting the trap. So this is also a starter. So 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then you're wondering, okay, 11, where's the last one? It's actually mystical Celtic Sage, or Celtic Sage, whatever. Now, the reason I'm actually counting this is because drawing 3 with this deck and then discarding 2 is more often than not, at least like 90% of the time, you're going to access an engine card. You're going to be able to like do something with the cards that you have. If you draw one of these, you're going to access engine, because you're going to be discarding 2 cards. It's going to force you to discard this, and then you're going to trigger it. If you draw either one of these, they're also going to be able to like discard, and then you can use them to add something back from the grave, and then you can do go from there, right? You can draw Gurifohs, you can draw these, you can draw Albaz, you can draw this. Even Magnet Hut can be used, but it's on the following turn. Even Multiplying Kuriboh can like also access your engine. There's just so many different cards. Even if you don't access engine with this and you draw like other hand traps, what are you going to be drawing? Think about it. If you don't draw any of these, you're going to draw Nip. You're going to draw like Thunderbolts. You're going to draw Harmonia. One of these. They're all like powerful cards that you can actually use. Now let's say we actually draw one of the rituals, right? 2 rituals. Let's say we draw 2 rituals and then like another mind shuffle, which you don't want to open this in your hand. This has another effect that says you can tribute this card and then cheat out one of your rituals. So that means if you draw one of these, it's not going to matter. You're going to just summon it right away. So this is why this card is considered a starter for this deck. Only thing is that you do need a card that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark, which more often than not you're going to have. So if I do like a test hand here and just do this, we have 1, 2, 3 cards that mention Ritual of Light and Dark. 1, 2, 3, 4 cards that mention Light and Dark. 1, 2, 3. You guys see where this is going, right? You always have like at least 1 card that mentions it. Okay, and now let's go back to this. So like we said, 12 starters, which means the probability of you having a starter on turn 1 is going to be 85%, which is decent for a turn 0 deck, right? Why is it a turn 0 deck? Because we're going to be accessing engine on the opponent's turn. So look at this. On turn 2, or if we're going second, we have a 97% chance to access engine. Now you're probably wondering, how is this even possible? There's no way, right? It's because we have 19 starters going second. Let me show you. There are some situational cards in this deck which on turn 1 cannot actually be reliable to be used as starters. One of them being things like Multiplying Gurifoh. Multiplying Gurifoh requires a first of all, if the opponent hand traps you, you can summon this, right? You can do this on your turn, but it requires the opponent to actually summon use a monster effect on the field for you to be able to add a Gurifoh. Think about this for a second. Most hand traps are gonna just activate from the hand and go to the grave. Ghost Ogre, Ash Blossom, Nibiru, these cards just don't activate on the field. But in the near future, because Yu-Gi-Oh is moving into a turn 0 phase right now, this card is gonna be a starter soon. You have cards like Synchro Emergency, you have cards like the new turn 0 Xyz, you have Izuna, you have Femina. All of these cards play on turn 0. They're activating monster effects, which allow you to summon this, and then they're also using monster effects on the field, which allow you to also use the effect to search Gurifoh. Which means, by the time these cards are released, the meta is going to be a turn 0 meta. Which means this card is going to be a starter more often than not. So this is one thing that makes this card just very powerful. But for the sake of, right now, because turn 0 is not as prevalent at the moment because the cards are still very new. We're not going to count it, but we're going to count it as a turn 2 card, because turn 2, if you're going second, you're going to summon this, and then you're going to activate it to search a Gurifoh, at least 99% of the time. They're going to use monster effects on the field, they're going to use monster effects in the grave, hand, whatever, and then you're going to be able to use it. Adding Gurifoh is what accesses the engine, because you get to set a mind shuffle, add the chaos, discard chaos, send the ritual spell, add a ritual. You have basically everything now. So you have 3 in addition to the ones that we had. So we had 12 initially. This makes it 15, and then there is 4 more cards. Harmonia being 3 of them. So Harmonia, because I'm counting it because it can do 2 things. Either if we have chaos already, it can send this, like we said, and then get access to engine. Otherwise, you can actually send Lulu, and then Lulu can summon this in the end phase, or the Cartesia. And then this can summon this, and then go into this, and then this can search a Cartesia, or the Thunderbolt if you want. Cartesia is going to be able to access engine by going into this on the following turn, right? Because you're locked out of using monster effects, you're going to just keep Cartesia on the field, and then on the opponent's turn, you're going to use it to go into this, send this, and then you're going to access your engine that way. Now, you're not going to have access to the trap, but you're still going to get all of them in rotation, which is what this deck cares about, right? And then you're also going to be able to summon the Thunderbolt, summon a Lulu off that. You get a lot of value off the Greninol, which is why I do count this. And like I said, this is not a 1-card combo deck. You need multiple cards. So more often than not, you're not just going to open a Harmonia and nothing else. You're going to have Harmonia, Multiplying Gurifoh. You're going to have Harmonia, Gurifoh. Harmonia, something else, Bestial Magnahat, for example. So yeah, just keep that in mind while you're playing this deck. So that's 15, and then 18, and then there's one more card, and that card is Magnahat. I literally just explained to you how Magnahat is going to access engine. It was the first example I gave you. You search Fallen of the White Dragon, and this is full combo like I showed you in the combo earlier. Or you can just search a Board Breaker with Harmonia. And yeah, that makes it 19 starters going second. 97%, almost, yeah, 97% chance that you open one. Otherwise, turn 0 plays. We have 16 of them, so we have a 93% chance of actually being able to get at least one turn 0 play. And this includes hand traps, right? So let's take a look at this real quick. So we have 3 nibs. We have 3 multiplying Gurifohs, which accesses Gurifoh. We have, so 6 cards, 7, 8, 9. Because these can set a punishment. 10, 11, 12. Harmonia is 2 interruptions on its own. 13 interruptions with this. 14, 15, 16. So you have 16 hand traps. Um, or you can say just turn zero plays, which is quite ridiculous, right? If you think about it, this is not the same as hand traps, okay? Because these are actually more interruptions and doing a lot more than just normal hand traps. So you can see like decks which play like 19, 20 hand traps, maybe even more. What are they really playing? They're playing Ash Blossom, which is, it goes 1-for-1, right? Do you think these cards go 1-for-1? No, they literally just don't. This sets punishment. What is punishment doing? Punishment is popping a monster and then sending any card from your extra deck to the grave, right? So you can send like a Entis, pop another card. So this is actually 2 interruptions. It's going 1-for-2. Nib is blowing the entire field. It's 1 card versus like, making them go -5, for example. Multiplying Gurifoh is going to set a Gurifoh. Gurifoh on its own is going to set the Mind Shuffle. This gives you access to Engine, so you plus so much from this. You get this in the grave, you get Chaos in grave. This already +2 because this deck utilizes the grave in that way. This +2, and then you also add a Ritual, so you go +3. Plus you get Luster Soldier, Unaffected Monster, and a Banish with just 1 card. And then you have Harmonia, pops a monster, sends one of these, spin something back, push something into the back row. This is 2 interruptions on some. So you can see like these turn 0 plays are actually basically double what you think they are. So 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then 16. So it's actually a lot more than that. It's like playing 25 hand traps. And accessing engine. Quite crazy. So yeah, this is basically like the probabilities on this, which I thought would be cool to actually include because some people think this deck breaks, but like the deck just doesn't break. Like if I look at this, like I'm just doing literally random hands here, and we're just opening like the craziest hands ever. So yeah. Now let's talk about recursion and like the grind game. Now, obviously, this video is going to be like talking to you about like how the deck works and all of that. But if you actually want to see replays, I would recommend that you actually watch my other videos because I show you duels and I like go over all my plays and everything that I'm doing. And you're probably gonna learn a lot more from that when it comes to this sense. But if you're new to the deck, I think this video is a lot more helpful for you. So if we talk about recursion in the grind game, the most important thing is Skull Archfiend and the spell card. If they are able to get rid of these two, you're going to be in a bad spot because you're not going to be able to actually have any plays when it comes back to your turn. Most of the time, your actual goal is to stop your opponent, and then it comes back to your turn, you overwhelm them because you have so much follow-up, right? And they're just unable to like out your multiplying Gurifoh. They're not unable to out like your unaffected monsters. This can be destroyed by battle, which makes it really hard to out when it's unaffected. And if they try to target it, you can just Mystic Box it. You can Mind Shuffle, and like just destroy your opponent. Like they just can't stop. Just tag in, tag out, tag in, tag out. So yeah, Mind Shuffle is not once per turn. The secondary effect. So this makes the Chaos super important with the Ritual Spell, and in the Mirror Match, which is probably the most threatening deck, I would say, to this deck, would be the Mirror Match. Because in the Mirror Match, they can go Skull Archfiend of Chaos, and then they can get rid of your cards in your grave. So they get rid of Archfiend, they get rid of this, they get rid of like a Gurifoh that you wanted to add with this, even if you have double Ritual Spell, which is why you always see in my videos, I actually like to get this engrave and then search another one, get engrave, and then I also have 2 Ritual Spells engrave. 2 Ritual Spells, 2 Chaos. That way, if they try to like shuffle stuff back, they can't, because they would have to shuffle 1 Chaos and then 1 Ritual Spell, and then they have to shuffle back one of their cards as well, I think. Including card. Actually, they don't, because this says including a card that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark, which can also just be my cards as well. But they're not going to be able to like get rid of all of them. I'm still going to have one of them, right? Which is what makes this play a lot better when you're playing a mirror match. And they're not just going to be able to do anything after that because they have no recursion. Against other decks, on the other hand, you have literally infinite recursion. You're gonna see in some duels, I even like shuffle back their Supernova, their cards like Little Knight. For example, Little Knight's like a great example actually. So they banish 2 cards. I try to nip them, for example. They go Little Knight, banish their own cards. Then I go Chaos, shuffle back the Little Knight and the card they banished into the deck. And just like that, they lost their entire board. They literally just have nothing. So Chaos plus Nib is just ridiculous. And you just get so much value off that. Otherwise, this card's also very important for recursion because it can put back your Mind Shuffle from the grave back onto the field. And very important thing, also when we're talking about recursion, you also cannot be playing 1 Mind Shuffle. In this version, at least. You have to play 2. If you're playing a different build, I still would say play 2 Mind Shuffles. I just don't think playing 1 is the right thing to do. Because if you open 1 Mind Shuffle, you're pretty much cooked unless you have access to Chaos. Because Chaos can then shuffle it back and then you can put another one back onto the field. But this is not easy to do, right? You have to first of all open the Chaos or have a way to like search it or send it to the grave. And then you have to shuffle this back, and then you need a way to actually place this on the field. So that's just not an easy thing to do. So if you open it, it's just really bad. You might as well just like set it and probably pass your turn, unless you have like a Fiendsmith line or something. Which is why I play 2. So if I open one, doesn't matter. I have another one. And then I can shuffle the other one actually back after I discard it. So just in case the opponent like banishes this, I still have a way to like get to another one. And another thing is you want to manage your resources properly. You don't want to just spam like Chaos infinitely, because sometimes you're going to be in situations where you need to add the ritual so that you can have a ritual spell in your deck to use this on a following turn. You can also get this on the board. So let's say you have a Chaos in the grave. You activate Chaos, you summon it onto the field, and then you can link it off or use it for like the Ritual of Light and Dark. Get Engrave again, and then you can trigger it to activate these. It can also be used as chain link blocking. So that's also another way you can manage your resources if you don't have like a way to search, because you don't want to activate this to like search another Chaos on your turn if you already have this Engrave, and then you discard Chaos and you do this, and then you can summon this and link it off, and then you get no value off of this. You can instead, just search the Swordsman instead, and then you can do the play that I just told you about, where you summon this and then link it off. Another thing is these two can just recycle themselves infinitely, which means you are going to have discard, you're going to have follow-up as well, because this specifically can just keep synchroing, and because Chaos is recycling resources, you can just keep shuffling the 3 Brave Sorcerers back into the deck, back into the deck, and then reusing it. And also this brings me to another point, because we go into Demod a lot, and go into like Dragoon with the Gaze, you can get infinite Gaze every single turn. So you just go Chaos, shuffle back your Gaze and your Dragoon. And this is already going to be in the grave because you shuffled it back with Gaze of Timaeus initially to summon the Dragoon. So you shuffle these 2 back, and then just any other card that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark, which is usually going to be just this, honestly. And then you can just keep going Dragoon over and over and over. And that's just quite nasty that you can even do this, to be honest. Also, Master of Chaos is cuttable. If you don't want to play this, it's completely fine. I just play it because it does come up sometimes. You can play anything else, like Miasma, whatever you want. But yeah, that's like very important for recursion. Another thing is the Multiplying Krebo. This can actually add or summon from either the deck or grave, which is very important for you to know, because Multiplying Krebo can actually add back your Gurifoh from the grave back to the hand, which is also another reason why this card is so powerful. You just cannot play this deck without Multiplying Krebo. This is a core part of the deck. The only cuttable cards in this deck, I would say, is some people don't like Thunderbolts. I personally don't think it's cuttable because it's just too good. But I can see why people would want to cut this if they want to play like a more extra deck heavy deck list. So for example, if you're playing a synchro version of this deck, you definitely don't want to play this because you don't want to lock yourself out of synchros, right? So this is a card which I guess you could say can be cuttable. Another card is where is it? The Gaze of Timaeus, Punishment, and Waking the Dragon. You don't really need to play like the DMOT stuff. It just gives you more, but I think overall you do need them because the deck doesn't do enough on its own. So it does need like these other things like DMOD, Dragoon, the Fallen of the White Dragon stuff, Fallen, and the Virtuous. These interruptions make a huge difference for this deck. And the Waking the Dragon, really funny. Now, if you're new to the deck and you don't know why you're playing Waking the Dragon, it's because Chaos Hats. Now, I haven't talked about Chaos Hats yet because I'm saving it for the final part of the video where I talk about each card individually, and you're going to be able to see what these cards are actually doing. Chaos Hats can set 3 spells from the deck, actually spells or traps from the deck, and then what you can do with them is you can set things like Waking the Dragon. It doesn't specify what spells and traps. It can be anything. Quick play spells, continuous spells, anything, right? So Waking the Dragon here is gonna be a card where if you set it with this forces your opponent to pop one of these cards that you set, because it's gonna shuffle them around and then force them to pop something. If they pop Waking the Dragon, you can summon any monster from your deck or extra deck, which means you can cheat out cards like Naturia Exterior. Now, if you guys read this card, this says when a spell or trap is activated, quick effect, you can banish 1 card from your grave, then send the top card of your deck to the grave, negate the activation. And if you do, destroy that card. Insane, right? You basically just have infinite negate. This is not once per turn. You can just use this infinitely. You have an infinite spell trap negate. Otherwise, you can summon Dragoon. Otherwise, you can summon Fallen of the White Dragon to get Access Engine. Otherwise, you can go Bestial Magnahat as well. You can summon basically anything from your deck or extra deck, which is what makes this card so powerful. So usually if they pop this, they probably just lose most of the time, especially if you summon the Tree Exterior. Like, decks can't beat this most of the time. It's just too much. Unless they have a big monster to already to swing over it. Otherwise, you could set like Unchained cards, which you can pop. There's an Unchained version that you can play, usually with Fiendsmith as well. And then there's just obviously the Mystic Box of Chaos. So this says here has a secondary effect. If this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon 1 ritual that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark from your hand or deck. This basically means that you can summon either one of these from the deck directly. Otherwise, you can also just play other cards that trigger on pop, so that you can get the most value off Chaos Hats. Now, if you're wondering why are we only playing 1 Chaos Hats and 1 of this, because we want to keep the deck at 40, and the deck is already enough. We already have enough. You don't want to draw too many Chaos Hats and Mystic Boxes because they do require this one especially requires you to have a monster that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark on the field, which most of the time you're actually not gonna have if you're starting off your turn right away, because this requires a special summon and needs a card that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark in the grave for you to shuffle back, and obviously you're not going to have any if you have just started your turn. And then this also has a restriction on its summoning, needs you to shuffle a Spellcaster or Warrior Ritual from hand or grave into deck to summon it, and then it's going to be affected because you don't have a Ritual spell in your grave, which means there's no point in you even summoning this in the first place. And these require you to Ritual summon them for you to be able to do anything. Otherwise, you have to Mind Shuffle. You need something like Thunderbolt on the field so you can shuffle it back, summon one of these, and then the Chaos Hats would be alive. But then you would be missing out on one of these because it also flips them face down and then sets the spells and traps. So the best card would be this. And you have to normal summon this. And then it also locks you out of the extra deck if you want to use its effect, which more often than not, you're going to use its effect because draw 3 is too powerful. You're not just going to pass up on that. Which is why we only play 1, because you're going to search this and use it situationally. You're not going to use it on your turn to stop hand traps all of the time. But you can actually stop hand traps. So if you open this already in your opening hand, you can Ritual right away into one of these, or summon this right away, even though it has no effect on turn 1. And then if they try to Droll you, you can just activate Chaos Hats, which is a very good play that you can make. But you have to open this. You don't want to search it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the recursion. That's the important stuff. And then I guess one more thing, but this is not like specific to the deck, it's just the Fallen of the White Dragon stuff. The Ecclesia of the Black Dragon can just keep shuffling back the Albion, and then you are going to turn on your Fallen of the Virtuous, which again, you can just shuffle these back with the Chaos as well, turn them back on. Now let's actually talk about like the different variants of the deck. So if we look here, you can have things like now obviously don't copy the exact deck. These decks are just like placeholders for what a deck could be. That you could just use this as like a template, as like, okay, this is what a Exceeds deck, for example, would look like. I do have one for synchros, which you can do. And reason there's actually different variants is because there's more turn 0 cards, and this deck is a turn 0 deck. So also it doesn't care about your extra deck. This Chaos deck, it can use the extra deck, as you can see, like we can go into these, but it doesn't require the extra deck because it's a ritual deck. Which means if you get locked out of your extra deck, it doesn't matter. Again, this is why we play Punishment. So that means you can actually steer like your X deck in a certain direction where you can play only Exceeds monsters, and you can make like an Exceeds heavy deck, and you can do like turn 0 Exceeds monster, Exceeds like summoning, and you can go into some like crazy stuff. For example, the cell phone subtraction, which is a card that was recently announced, can just go into like Garunix on turn 0, nuke the opponent's entire like monsters, which is quite crazy to be honest. Or you can go to like Dingirso, which also gives you protection for your trap if they try to like pop it. And also like sends something they control to the grave. You can go into this, which is an Omni Negate on turn 0. You can go into like Baguska. There's a lot of things that you can do. So that's for the Exceeds. Synchro, you have the Synchro Emergency. Now this card's actually very powerful. But the reason I don't like this deck too much is because I have to play Synchrons, and I don't like Synchrons. Opening these are probably the best two to play because you can actually still do something with them if you open them. But you also feel bad because you're not playing these. This is a 1-card combo, the Synchro Fellowship. All you have to do is basically just activate this, you add these two, and then you discard this, normal summon this, revive this from the grave, and then you can go into Junk Speeder, and then Junk Speeder can summon this. And then you can use Junk Speeder plus this to go into the Ecclesia of the Black Dragon. And then Ecclesia of the Black Dragon is going to banish itself, summon Albaz, and Albaz summons this. And then you go into the Crimson King, right? Let's show that. This is the guy I was talking about at the start. And then this is going to search Crimson Call. And then because you control a Archfiend monster, you can add a Gurifoh. This is just a 1-card combo with Synchro Fellows. But it's not really worth it to play these cards because, you're not getting enough turn 0 plays, which is what the deck really needs. But you do have Synchro Emergency. Now, Synchro Emergency is very powerful because you can put up a Shen Floodgate, which honestly, most of the time just beats your opponent, especially things like Yummy. Like, Yummy gets destroyed by Shen. There's a lot of decks that just get absolutely destroyed by this. And if you guys watch my Synchro video, you're going to see like how powerful Shen is on turn 0. You can also go into this, which is a wipe for all monsters they control, or all spells and traps. But this only destroys face-up spells and traps, which is something you need to be aware of. So you're probably just better off using this on monsters most of the time. You can go into Chaos Angel, you can go into like Cloud Beast, Pack Bits, even Black Rose Dragon to nuke the entire board on turn 0. This is just ridiculous that you can even do this on turn 0, right? And it can also just add follow-up because this summons a Synchron, which can summon like this, for example, and then this can add a Synchron card, and then you can still activate this on a separate chain to Synchro. So much you can do with this. Now, aside from this, there's like a Mitsurugi version, and the reason Mitsurugi is very good is because this sends any ritual spell from a hand or deck to the grave, and then it adds a ritual monster mentioned on it, which means you can send Mitsurugi Mirror. Let's pull that up. You can send this card, and then this card can add a Habakiri to the hand, because all roads lead to Habakiri, right? Now, this deck with Mitsurugi is very powerful. Undeniably, it is very powerful. But you have higher chances of breaking because you have to play like Kusanagi, you have to play Saji, you have to play like Aramasa. And these are not really cards that you want to see in your hand, to be honest. You don't want to see like a mirror, dead mirror in your hand. A dead Mitsurugi ritual. And yeah, this is just gonna make the deck weaker. But when you do have a good hand, the deck is obviously gonna pop off. It's gonna be crazy. Because you guys know like how Mitsurugi is. I'm pretty sure like everyone is tired of Mitsurugi. I'm not. I really like Mitsurugi, but I think it's, you know, everyone is playing Mitsurugi. Also, you can probably play a pure version with Mitsurugi where you play the Chaos, just Skull Archfiend of Chaos, which gives you consistency, and it's just ridiculous. You can play this plus like a Mind Shuffle maybe. Even there's just so much that you can do with this deck with Mitsurugi. Also, this deck can actually abuse things like Impulse. So the Dominus cards. Actually, let's write Dominus instead. So we can use Dominus Spark, which is a new card, and Impulse. Impulse has a little more impact on us because it's gonna turn off the soldier basically for the rest of the duel. So and this is like a card that you kind of do want to use a lot. But aside from this, it doesn't actually turn off anything besides like extra deck cards. So if you want to go like Pack Pit or something, this doesn't like water, but it likes like other stuff like wind, for example. So it's gonna turn off like Exterio. And Spark basically does the same thing. But Spark has a lesser restriction because this also locks you out of light. And we do play light monsters, as you can see, like we have these two on like Granganol. Spark doesn't care. Spark still allows you to play darks and lights, which is most of the time, if you want to play something, it would be Spark. But again, this deck relies on turn 0, which means you're probably better off just siding this instead of actually maining this. You want to have more monsters than, you know, spells and traps. This deck kind of like reminds me of like Draco Tail in the sense that you need a lot of monsters and you can just make turn 0 plays left, right, and center and just win off that. But yeah, that's like something I thought would be important to mention as well. And aside from this, I guess there's the Dark Magician build. Now, I don't play Dark Magician. I know how to though, but with Dark Magician, they also got a new card, which is very powerful with this deck, which is Dark Magical Curtain. So Curtain can actually do some crazy stuff because this can basically play on turn 0. So if I actually show you this right now, let's just add like a vanilla Dark Magician. Add this to the deck. And then we can do just 2 here, don't shuffle. Okay, so in the draw phase, what we can do is if you're afraid of getting like Drolled or Ashed on like Gurifoh, here's what you actually do. So you're gonna summon the Dark Magician, okay? And then you're gonna add a Gaze of Timaeus. And then you can activate Gaze of Timaeus on the Dark Magician. On the draw phase, by the way. And then you're gonna go into Dragoon. Now you have a negate for Ash Blossom. Right? They had to ash this, otherwise they cannot ash. Now you probably obviously have like other cards in your hand because you have a 5 card starting hand. So you have something to discard for Dragoon, and now you can go for the Gurifoh line that I showed you prior, and you have the full protection of Dragoon from like basically you don't care about Nib. Mainly this is going to be for Ash Blossom because Droll and Lockbird is not going to matter. This is all in the draw phase. So that's something really cool that you can do. And there's like some other stuff. You can actually lock your opponent out, which I really don't want to show you guys the combo because I don't want people to use it. But yeah, I did like figure out a line where you can actually just go into this and it's ridiculous. And it's just, it's not how you are supposed to play the deck. I was like testing it out and stuff, but even though there is a way to do this, I don't actually play this. It's in my side deck, yes, but I just don't use it. Because this new card exists, you can actually use its effect in that combo to add a Chaos Max. And then because this card exists as well now, you can actually add Secrets of Dark Magic. And then this can Ritual Summon on the opponent's turn. Otherwise, you can go into Dino Mundo after you Ritual Summon this, normally, and then you can revive it back with Dino Mundo. Pretty much. So if you're playing like a Mitsurugi version, you go into this. It's actually a Cyberse Xyz monster. This one, code Igniter. And then this can Ritual Summon this from the hand. and then you get it in grave to go into Dynamundo, and then you revive this with Dynamundo on the opponent's turn, and you lock your opponent out, basically, of monster effects. Really toxic. I don't think it's healthy for the game. I don't think it's also the way you're supposed to be playing the deck. It's like Branded with gimmick puppets. Do you really want to play like gimmick puppets in Branded? It just makes the deck not fun, and the deck is already super fun, right? You're ruining a very good deck. Yeah, and these are like the main variants of the deck. Now, obviously, you can play like some different variants, but the ones I showed you are probably like the main ones that are going to be the best to like use the full potential of the Chaos deck. While still like saving its integrity, right? You're not like playing a slop deck. And now I think what's the last thing that I should mention is like how you can use every single card and their interactions. This is probably the most important part of the video. Now, because we're not like going into duels and stuff, there's no point in me like showing you that when I already have videos of like analyzing all my plays and stuff, so you can see that if you want to learn from duels. First of all, let's start with Nib. Why is Nib so good? First of all, there's multiple different ways you can use Nib in this deck. Because Nib is a level 11, first of all, actually, it's gonna wipe out your opponent's board, so obviously it's gonna be insane. And this is usually the last card they use after you make your turn 0 plays. So by that time, they're going to be exhausted, right? They're out of plays. Maybe they have one more push, and then they finally think they can start playing. You smack them with the Nib, they scoop, right? They have no more plays. You already got access to your engine and stuff. It's just so powerful. It's such a high impact card. And in addition to this is a level 11. You know what that means? This is a card you can shuffle back with the Mind Shuffle, second effect. You can see here, you can return one level 7 or higher monster you control to the hand, and then you can special summon one of these, which you are going to add with the Mind Shuffle's first effect. So after you add Chaos, you discard it, and then you add one of the rituals, which is going to be the Blackluster Soldier. So you spin back your Nib after you use it, and then you summon this, and then you get a free banish as well. So that means you actually get Nib back to your hand so that you can use it on a following turn, which is disgusting. Think about this scenario. In some duels, I actually nib them, and then on the following turn, I can just add the nib back to my hand. So let's say I nib on my turn because they summoned 5 times. I nib on my turn, out their entire board, actually in my previous video, this did happen. So you guys can see that if you want. So you nib them, clear the entire board, and then you keep it on the field because maybe you don't have a way to like further extend after that, but you do have the trap. Then you can just spin it back to the hand, summon Luster Soldier, get a free banish. They summon 5 times again, nib them again. It's so ridiculous. It's just unfair, right? Nib also turns on your Chaos if you have it on the board, which sometimes you just do because you shuffle stuff back to summon it. And you're gonna be like shuffling this back and like your Albaz and some stuff to like recycle your stuff. So Nib is obviously one of the most high impact cards in the deck. And then you have Multiplying Gurifoh. Multiplying Gurifoh has lots of applications. There's so many different things you can do with Multiplying Gurifoh. First of all, Multiplying Gurifoh is going to be able to activate on the if the opponent uses a monster effect. Now, it doesn't matter if the opponent uses a monster effect in the grave, hand, field, whatever. Just monster effect, summon it from the hand. The second effect is what specifically requires the opponent to use a monster effect on the field for you to be able to use it. And there's multiple ways you can use this effect. The first way you can use it is you actually wait for them to go battle phase. So you keep this in your hand. It's a surprise card, and once they think they have game, on attack declaration, you can actually summon this from your hand. And then in damage step, you actually get to add or special summon a monster with 300 attack and 200 defense from deck or grave. So this means you can actually summon another one, another Multiplying Gurifoh. And then this and it's also going to reduce the opponent's monster to 0. So you keep this in attack when you summon it, so that when the opponent tries to attack over it, they're going to get reduced to 0, and they're going to swing over it and get destroyed. And then you summon another Multiplying Gurifoh. Let's say they attempt to swing over this one again. This is going to also reduce it to 0, and then it's going to get destroyed because it crashed into a 300 attack monster while it has 0 attack. And then you're also going to summon another multiplying Karibo. And then you can just basically just protect yourself from lethal damage by doing this. And then on the last one, you can actually search Gurifoh. Now, this doesn't have to be the last one. You can just search it on the first one as well, but this is just an example. So you can search the Gurifoh as well, or you can special summon it. Very important. So if you add this to your hand, you can obviously set this, you can set Chaos Hats, you can set Mystic Box, it accesses your engine. Otherwise, there's a very cool play that you can make also on turn 0. And that play is multiplying Karibo summons Gurifoh instead of adding it. And then let's say you have another Gurifoh in your hand, or you have a Chaos Hats. Now, because you control a monster that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark, which is a requirement for you to be able to use this card, you can use this on turn 0. And then they can possibly pop Awakening the Dragon. You summon this, and you win on turn 0. It's very toxic if it works, if they pop this, but either way, you're getting a free negate off this, and it's going to be just, putting up a lot of monsters on the board, and these are going to be level 8 Dark Spellcasters, which means you can banish them face down to go into Dark Magician of Destruction. Super crazy, right? And they can also, like, pop this and, like, some other stuff, which this also summons this to banish another card, or go into this to add, like, a spell back to the hand. Lots of applications for this. Otherwise, you can also just normal summon this and then keep it on the field, and then you can use it whenever you want. You can also go into Anima. So Anima is a Link 1 monster, which requires a level 1 monster. This is a Dark Spellcaster monster, which means if you manage to get another Dark Spellcaster, which can be this, it can be, this, there's a lot of, like, Dark Spellcaster monsters, this as well. You can use them to link off into this, because this requires 2 monsters of the same type. Now, Anima does actually come up sometimes. I don't play it at the moment because there's no room, but I'm actually thinking about just taking this out and playing Anima instead. Anima, I feel like, comes up a lot more. But yeah, that's a very cool thing that you can do with multiplying Karibo. The card just gives you so much. And another thing with multiplying Karibo is Demot can search it. And this is what accesses your engine if you don't have the trap. Very important thing that you know here. Okay, now Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is a 2500 attack monster and 2500 defense, which is important because that means the 3-rare Sword Souls can actually search it, and it can also be summoned off of the Granganol. Now, why would you want to summon it off Granganol? Just like we showed you earlier, once you summon this is a level 8, so you can shuffle it back with the Might Shuffle, and then you can summon, like, one of these, and you can also resummon it by its own effect from the hand if the opponent controls. Actually, if there's a monster summoned from the extra deck on the field, you can see during the main phase, and then you can set a Dogmatic punishment. So the Dogmatic punishment that you set is only going to be activatable if the opponent controls an extra deck monster with 2500 or more attack, which more often than not, they're actually going to be able to do this, turning on your punishment, and then punishment is going to go crazy. The main reasons you are playing it is not just punishment, it's mainly to actually spin something back to summon one of these. It gives you so much value. And also it's a free 2500 beat stick if you need it, because you can just special summon this for free from your hand most of the time. So it's worth it, which means in some cases you can even go multiplying Karibo, normal summon this if you, like, have no plays, and then you link it off into Anima, and now because you control an extra deck monster, you can summon this from your hand, set a punishment, and then you can pass. I have done that a couple times, and that's something that, gives you, like, a free 2 interruptions in the case where, you don't actually have anything. So it's very, very useful. Now, Harmonia is one of the best cards, best hand traps, I guess, in this deck, because it's, like we mentioned earlier, you're going to be popping, you're going to be searching your engine with, like, Lulu, backbid, discard this, you get free pops. You can also shuffle this back to the hand with the Might Shuffle, because it's a level 7 or higher, and then you can use it again on the following turn, right? After you summon, like, one of these. You don't have to summon, like, the rituals with this. You can actually just summon anything that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark, so it can even be Karibo, this. Actually, kind of crazy that you can even summon this on with like this to search. That is quite broken, because you can draw onto, like, Nibs, you can draw onto multiplying Karibos. But yeah, Harmonia is just really, really insane. And the fact that you can just keep recycling it with the Mind Shuffle back to the hand and keep using it over and over makes it even that much more broken. And for punishment, by the way, you can also just go Chaos, shuffle back the punishment after you use it, so that this is going to be activatable again, and then you can just search it again with this, set another punishment. And yeah, just recycle like the things that you sent. For example, Entis. Really broken. Fallen of the White Dragon is obviously one of the best, actually the best starter in the deck. It can give you access to Fallen and the Virtuous, and Fallen and the Virtuous is not to be slept on because this card can also summon from either grave if you have Ecclesia on the grave, which more often than not you're going to have if you like go for this line. And this can also turn on your Mind Shuffle if you don't have a level 7 or higher, because you can seal monsters from either grave. So you can seal like a Nib from your grave to resummon it. You can seal this in the grave to summon it, or one of your opponent's monsters. And this does not say it has to go back to your hand. It just says back to the hand, which means if you spin it back to the opponent's hand, it's still going to be able to summon one of your monsters that mentioned Ritual of Light and Dark, which is great, right? Aside from this, this locks you into level 8 Fusion and Synchros, which doesn't matter. We actually, like, all of these cards are like level 8 either Synchro or Fusion. Aside from the links, which you don't actually need to use. Links are just extra. In some lines, they might come up, but most of the time it's just these that come up. And like these cards, like they're not cards you're actually summoning. It's from different conditions. You're not summoning them properly, like you're summoning the Ecclesia of the Black Dragon, for example. So these are all level 8s that you can summon. This is a level 6, so most of the time you're not going to be able to summon this unless your opponent like reduces you by 2 or something. Lulu, you can summon this normally, but again, this is a card that you usually special off the Granganol, or you can just, what do you call it, like summon this by other means. You don't really need to summon this like raw, because it just doesn't really do too much. You're better off just keeping this in your extra deck and then sending it with Harmonia to get follow-up or Granganol. Aside from this, you can see like Granganol is summonable. You can summon Albion if you want. I don't see why though. I guess in some scenarios you can like go into, you know, Dragoon, but you don't really need to summon Albion. Albion is a card that you most of the time just send to the grave. So if you already have access to like the Chaos stuff, what you can do is once you go Granganol, you can just send this to the grave, so you can still get access to this if you never actually use the effect to special summon. Then you can also just link summon as well after. Yeah, this is these are both level 8s as well. So Fallen of the White Dragon gives you so much. So this also being able to send Albion to the grave gives you an additional interruption in the end phase. And if you have Fallen and the Virtuous, or you have Harmonia, you can also just send this to the grave so that you also have another way to out your opponent by activating this, shuffling this back into the deck, and then shuffling a card your opponent controls back into the deck. This is just with like Fallen the Virtuous and like Harmonia, or like if you already opened this. So you get a lot of value off this. And then these two are going to be able to go into 3 of Sword Souls, which has a secondary effect, which is most of the time going to be very effective. And this has multiple targets, obviously. It can search like the Cartesia, it can search this, it can search this. There's some other cards that you can play, like the Dogmatica Ecclesia, which can also search a punishment if you want to play that. You don't have to play this. I personally don't play it, even though you do have a normal summon, so technically you can. It does lock you out of the extra deck, so which is why I feel like there's really no reason for me to play it. I already have punishment. And it's easily searchable because of this. Yep. And Cartesia is like its main goal is going to be going into Granganol most of the time, but you can actually use it for some other stuff. Like in some cases, if you play the vanilla Dark Magician, you can just go into the Dark Magician of Destruction right away. Or you can just go into Dragoon by using like the Albaz and the vanilla Dark Magician. So it does have like more uses if you play like the vanilla. Otherwise, mainly you're just going to be summoning either one of these, most of the time just Granganol. And that's just enough. And you're going to be able to dodge effects. So you go into this, and then you search this, and then you special summon this, and then you use the effect to negate and pop. They try to stop this. You chain this and fuse with this into Granganol. I do like making this play a lot. As for Magna Huts, you guys know like the function of Magna Huts. It does too much. But this card can't go back to your deck, back to the hand with Mind Shuffle because it's a level 6, unfortunately, not a level 7. As for these rituals, we haven't talked about them properly yet. So this is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects unless they target this card. So this says spells and traps you control cannot be destroyed or banished by your opponent's card effects. Why is this very important? Because if your opponent tries to like target your back row, and you have like Luster Soldier or like maybe like a Thunderbolt on the field, they want to like banish your Mind Shuffle, you can actually activate Mind Shuffle, spin this back to the hand or this back to the hand, and then you summon this. This is gonna protect it. In some duels, you know what happens? I actually add this back to the hand, and then opponent, let's say, goes Supernova Dragon, which says banish all cards your opponent controls. Very insane card, right? Because it's not actually targeting, I can shuffle back Thunderbolt and then summon this, and now my spells and traps are all protected, even if they're set. And this can't be banished because it has to be targeted for it to be affected, which means cards like Supernova pretty much do nothing. This protects from both banish and popping, right? So this card can just be very powerful. And then its other effect, saying that you can add any spell from the grave to the hand, is also pretty insane. And then can use the other effect to target a card your opponent controls, banish it face down. This is one of like the most powerful effects in the game, where you banish cards face down, because they can pretty much never come back unless you're playing like Kashtira and you have like a Rise Heart, which is again also banned in the TCG anyway. So this card is very broken. Also, it's a level 8 spellcaster, so you can banish it to go into D-Mod. You can use this with Chaos Hats. You can use it with Mystic Box. Very, very, very powerful card. And then you have this, which is this is the card usually you go for on your turn. And then this is the card you go for on the opponent's turn. Unless you're going second and you want to out your opponent's board, then you would summon this as opposed to this. You can summon both, but this is the card you usually go for. So this says cannot be destroyed by battle, unaffected by opponent's activated effects, unless they target this card. And then it also has an effect on special summon. Notice it doesn't say ritual summon, it says special summon, which means if you have a way to revive this from grave, you can just use it. And in some cases, I actually use Fallen the Virtuous to revive this and then trigger its effect. And you can target one card your opponent controls, banish it. It banishes it face up, not face down, like the Chaos. Now, this also has a battle phase effect, where if it attacks a monster and destroys it by battle, you can make this card gain 100 attack, and then attack again. But it has to be in a row, right? You can't like attack with this and then attack with something else, and then attack with this again, I think. Has to be in a row. But this card is very, very powerful. Because it can't be destroyed by battle, you can put this in defense, and then it's just going to be unaffected by anything, and they can't swing over it. And if they have a way to out it by like targeting, you just spin it back with a Mind Shuffle, you summon this, and then they have to attack now. Otherwise, and they're probably not going to have game there, then. So they need to activate another effect, which you can just activate Mind Shuffle again, because it's not once per turn, summon this back in defense. So now they need another way to out this. If they try to out the trap, so you stop doing this, you just summon this back, protect it, and then they try to out this, you shuffle it back. You summon this. It's really, really quite ridiculous. And then this is the best monster in the deck. But this is your boss monster, your real boss monster, because it's gonna put up your trap and stuff by shuffling one spellcaster or warrior ritual. Now, it doesn't specify it has to be like these. It just says warrior ritual, which means even if you play like the voiceless ritual monster, this one, you can actually shuffle this back to the deck from hand or grave to summon this, which is quite crazy. And then this says unaffected by opponent's activated effects while you have a ritual spell in your grave. So once you get Chaos in grave, which sends this, this makes it unaffected, and it's a free banish too. So once you summon this, they literally cannot do anything. They usually panic because you can't impermanent, you can't droplet, you can't super poly, you can't Nibiru, you can't do anything. And then you get a free banish too, which means their entire board is probably gone by then. You banish the most powerful interruptions or back rows they have, and they're not going to have anything at that point. These can at least be targeted, so if you don't have access to the trap, you know, they can still get rid of them. And the trap also spins them back for cost, which means it's gonna, opponent activates something, you activate Mind Shuffle, you spin this back for cost, and then there's a window now where there's nothing on the field, or there's no like one of these on the field. So they can like chain MST, for example, pop the Mind Shuffle, and then you don't get to summon another monster. This, they cannot do that with, right? They have to out it with like Plasma, for example, or like a Skill Drain, which is, you know, they're not going to be able to put that up because you're going to stop them from doing so. So, yeah, very powerful card. Also, level 8 Spellcaster, can use it to go into Diamond. Chaos, we already talked about how to use this card. This card can just infinitely recycle everything. Not much to say about that there. Already talked about it. Gurifoh can also has like another effect where it can protect you from battle or effect damage, so you're not going to be able to get FTK'd. Or in some cases, if you know, feel like you're going to get like OTK'd, you keep this in your hand, you use it at the last moment when they attack with like a huge monster, and you are going to survive. And then you can just activate this on the following turn, add back, and you can just win. Right? I have done that multiple times. Otherwise, it has another effect. As you can see, like at the bottom, it says you could, if you want to summon a level 8 ritual monster with a card effect that requires the use of monsters, you can use this as the entire tribute. So you don't have to banish like level 8s or like build up to like exceed the levels. You can just use this as the full tribute, which is very great because, you know, sometimes you just don't have a level 8. You just have like this plus like maybe this, and you don't really want to banish these. Even though we have a lot of level 8s, like we can use Nibiru, we can use this, we can use Harmonia plus a level 1. There's a lot of cards that we can use, but this does have a lot of value. Mystical Celtic Sage can cheat out one of the rituals and draw 3, discard 2. Does lock you out of the extra deck. And then we already talked about this. It can ritual summon either one of these, and then it can just recycle your stuff from the grave. And then you have the Mystic Box, which we did not talk about yet. So this says when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets another card you control. It doesn't say it has to be a card that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark. It can basically be any card. Set card, face-up card, that you control, anything. You return one of those cards, and also it doesn't say just one card, it says cards with an S, right? So in some cases, they target 2 cards. They you chain Mystic Box of Chaos, they pop one of them, you can still spin back the other card, right? And then you spin it back for cost, by the way. And then you get to pop a card on the field non-targeting, and then you can summon a monster that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark from the hand with a different name, ignoring its summoning conditions, which means you can summon the rituals. You can summon this as well. It's very powerful. And then if they pop this, which they can pop it if you set with the Chaos Hats, or if you set this and they just pop it. Also, there's a level 5 Exceed monster. I'm not going to check it out right now, but is it Durendal? I think it's Durendal. So it forces them to like pop one of your back rows, which means they have to pop either this or like the Waking the Dragon if you have them, forcing them to activate the secondary effects, which basically cheats out a ritual monster from the hand or deck. Now Chaos Hats. Okay, Chaos Hats says when your opponent activates a monster effect, so it can be hand traps as well. Droll, Lockbird, Ash Blossom, Nibiru, or a normal spell or trap. Very important that you remember it's a normal and not a quick play spell. So if they activate Fallen the Virtues, you can't activate this in response. You basically have to choose a monster in your main monster zone, which says which mentions Ritual of Light and Dark. Flip it face down, and then you put 3 spells or traps from your deck on the field. You shuffle them up, and then they have to pop one of them. And this is what triggers Waking the Dragon and all of these other cards. Also, they're level 8 Dark Spellcasters, which means you can banish them for demod, even if they're face down. And you can also just flip them up, and they're going to be monsters as spells and traps with 0 attack. So basically, if you have this on the board, you can flip it up. It's going to be Fallen and the Virtuous on the monster zone. And you can actually attack with it because it's a monster, right? This is important because if you have this, for example, you set this, on the following turn you can flip it face up. You can crash this into the opponent. And because it was technically destroyed by the opponent's card, you can summon this from the deck, and it's going to be during the damage step. They can't ash it. And then this in the damage step can actually activate to banish as well. And they can't stop it. They can't do anything about that. And then this can attack again, and then gain 15, and then attack again. It's very powerful play that you can make. And I feel like this is an effect that I mean, like a play that you should know with this card. And you can also use them for like link summoning. There's like multiple uses for these like spells that you have as monsters on the board. And because they're both like they're all like spellcaster darks, you can actually just link them off into this as well to search one of your rituals. Okay, I think Gaze of Timaeus, not really much to explain with this. You just basically go into Dragoon. Fallen and the Virtuous, we already said there's multiple applications to this. You can pop cards. You can revive to like turn on like a level 8 or something to turn on your Mind Shovel, or you can just steal your opponent's card if they try to like do anything with it. And then the Mind Shovel itself. Now, something I did not mention, I was just waiting for Mind Shovel, is this is not once per turn. This is also not once per turn. None of these cards are once per turn. The only once per turn is the effect to add, but the effect to like spin back from the field to the hand and resummon is not once per turn. And I already mentioned that you cannot spin back extra deck monsters to the hand to use this effect because they're not actually going to the hand, they're going to the extra deck. This is something that, you know, very important that a lot of people just forget. It has to be a main deck monster that you spin back to the hand. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. A really cool interaction you can do, now that you know how Chaos Hats work, is Chaos Hats treats these spells as level 8 spellcasters, which means once you flip them face up, and they're like clearly, you know, monsters, spellcaster level 8s, because they're level 8, you can actually spin them back to the hand to summon like something that mentions Ritual of Light and Dark. So let's say we have like a Fallen of the White Dragon, Fallen and the Virtuous, or like a Super Pulley. You flip it face up, opponent activates something, you activate Mind Shuffle, spin the Super Pulley or Fallen and the Virtuous back to the hand, and then summon this. And then you have this in your hand to use it. You know what this means? This means if you actually have like a way to like set Dominus Spark, Dominus Impulse, and all of these, and you flip them face up, you can use this to spin them back to the hand. Really quite ridiculous, I know. But yeah, that's a very cool play that you should know. Aside from this, the secondary effect, not once per turn, you can just cheat out these, ignoring summoning conditions, even this. In some cases, you can even go into this, and then upon activates something, you chain this, summon this, and now you already have a spell engraved, and you didn't want to shuffle any of these like back into the deck to summon it. So this is the perfect way to summon it with the Mind Shuffle, and then you basically have an unaffected monster which is gonna destroy your opponent's entire board. Yeah, and punishment locks you out of the extra deck. Basically how it works, send one monster with equal or higher attack. In some cases, there are some monsters who are huge. What you want to do is actually target a smaller monster so that you can pop it, and then you go into Elder Entity Entis to pop the other big monster, or you can send like this to push it into the back row. You can send this to return it back to the hand, which is something very important. Otherwise, you know, these like huge monsters like 2800, 3000, you have to send things like Dragoon to be able to like out them. Otherwise, Waking the Dragon, we already talked about what this can do. You can pop your, what do you call it? If it gets popped, you can summon a Naturi Exterior, win the duel, go Dragoon, summon anything from your deck, even Lynx. You can also summon like your main deck monsters as well, but you can't summon like things like this because this is this requires a specific summoning condition, and you're not ignoring summoning conditions with this one like you are with this one, right? And this one. So that's just something that you should note. And this isn't, you can't crash this after you summon it with Chaos Hats and you flip it face up, because this says if this set card in its owner's control has left the field because of an opponent's effect. It clearly says set card, so once you flip it face up you can't, and also it says by opponent's effect, not opponent's card. Very important distinction here. Yeah, and now let's see the extra deck here. The only thing I need to mention is this. So if this card is link summoned, which we have multiple ways to do as we have previously mentioned, you can send one ritual spell, one spell from your hand or face up field to the grave, add one ritual monster from the deck to the hand. Now, because this is always adding a spell back, you're always going to add probably this back to your hand, and you're going to have this in your hand to send with this, and then this can add like one of your rituals. And then you can also just add this if you want to play that and be toxic. Also has a secondary effect which could come up. You can target one Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, or Xyz this card points to. So let's give you an example here. We have a D-Mod in the grave. Actually, we have D-Mod on the field. We have this in grave. You can actually target your D-Mod, and then you can revive something with the same type. So it has to be a spellcaster, but a different card type. So it can't be a fusion. It can be a ritual. It can be an Xyz monster. It can be a synchro monster, as long as it's a spellcaster. So you can just revive this back onto the field with this, which is quite broken. Also, you can also use the first effect on either turn, because it says, or a monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, you can send one spell and then add a ritual. Which means if you have like some other like spells in your hand, which usually you shouldn't, I think, because you don't have too many spells here, you basically can send one of them and then add one of these. So you can add Lesser Soldier, and then you can save this to add a Gurifoh instead of adding the Chaos and accessing this. So that's going to give you like some more interruptions as well. And as for the side deck, another like card that you could play is Chaos Hunter, because Chaos Hunter is a level 7 that you can spin back with this. Also, it's a Floodgate, which can hurt a lot of decks, and also gives you a discard. So in the case where you have Chaos, you can discard the Chaos, and that would be very powerful because it accesses your engine. And you don't really like care too much about playing anything that's not light and dark, but it is, I guess, worth it to like play these in the side deck in the case where they could come up. I personally don't use them too much, but Droll and Lockbird does come up sometimes against some decks. Otherwise, you can also play Ash if you fear Branded. And yeah, I would say that's like the important things to mention here. And then the fact that this gains 1500, by the way, is not temporary. This is a permanent 1500 that he gains, and it can't be destroyed by battle. You know what this means? This means it can out unaffected monsters, because things like Liger can't out this because it's unaffected by the destruction effect. They will have to swing over this by battle, and guess what? It can't be destroyed by battle. So once they put up another monster, you just attack over it. You gain 15, keep this on the field, and then you attack over their Liger, because he's going to be 4500. And then once you destroy it, you can attack again, attack over the other Liger, and then you can just win. I thought that was, you know, something important to mention when it comes to like unaffected monsters. Your out is probably just going to be the Black Luster Soldier. This card is very, very good. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and at least like learned something new and like know how to play the deck now, or at least have a better idea on how to play the deck and what, you know, this deck is and what it does. Now, obviously, like I can't teach you everything about this deck with just this one video. You have to like maybe watch my other videos on like me analyzing replays, so you can see the deck in action and everything that I have told you, you know, being actually implemented into the game, right? And that would help you understand a lot better. And then also, obviously, you have to play the deck. You have to experience it on your own. You have to make misplays. You have to learn from your mistakes when you play the deck. Because, like I said, this deck requires a good pilot, because you need to know what you're doing. You can't just like, you know, flail your arms and expect to win. Because this deck is not like, I don't know, like for hire K9 Mitsurugi, where you just get like, you know, free wins. Like just there's nothing your opponent can do, right? But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to like write them in the comments below. I do read your guys' comments, so I'll be able to like help you out if you have any questions, especially if you're a beginner to this deck. And if there's anything I missed, also feel free to put that in the comment section below. Because, you know, I can't like remember everything, obviously. I have tried to include everything that I can in one sitting. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. This has been a very long video, actually, 2 hours. Holy. Yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.